Hello.
Hello, John.
Oh, hello.
How's it going?
It goes well. What are we about to do?
We are about to embrace the metaphysical world.
Oh, dear.
So, here we are in the Cotswolds, and you're here recording your new album. How's it going so far?
We think excellently. The schedule has been hectic. First the putting together of the book, then the promoting of it, and then straight into recording a new album. It's mind-numbingly spinning in my head, but I think I'm a healthier person now because of the years and years and years of experience of having to deal with high-pressure situations, that I'm actually enjoying that position of knowing that everything could fall apart instantly, and I've only got myself to blame if it does.
But you're here for a couple of months?
We're here until right up to Christmas.
Okay. So you're packing all the creative stuff into the last quarter of this year. You've done the book tour, which was a lot of fun.
It was hysterical good fun, as you well know, Kerri. We went about that in rather a different, novel way, and I think the Caravanette really made it work, because it was borderline absurd, wasn't it? Damn thing was falling to bits.
I know.
You know, and you think, how do old couples go on holiday in them things?
These things. It was a real bone shaker, wasn't it?
It was, but it made it enjoyable, and it gave me such a kind of a weird energy before walking into these question-answer situations, let alone just the book signing aspect of it. I mean, it's all nerve-wracking because you don't know what is about to unfold on you. You know, whether you're going to have to deal with a house full of hecklers or the pros and cons of the intelligentsia, or just people that are genuinely happy to meet you.
Yeah. Well, it was different everywhere we went.
Yeah.
But you got all of that energy out doing that, and then you're straight into the recording studio. But have you had ideas for the new album before you got here, or is it very much day by day, when you wake up, what you think?
I never really got any time really to sit down and write. I mean, I'm always writing, that's what I do.
Yeah.
It's just constant, but not actual completely landlocked to creating a new album. But I found, which is what I knew would happen, that doing the book tour the way we did gave me just endless amounts of inspiration. And some of the conversations with the people in the audience, and in particular the book signing, like just the little snippets of information people want to transfer onto you. That's wonderful. That's life stories, and that's what this is all about, communication.
Well, you really went to town with the signings. I mean, like Manchester, you were up till 6 in the morning or something, and it was really
8 by the time we got back.
You got back. And I think a lot of people really appreciated it. And it veered from being like all the posh people in Cheltenham to like the rowdy ones in Bexhill.
Who'd have thought Bexhill could have been such a riotous assembly? But you know how that worked. That's because just nobody really goes there that much. And so it's all that pent-up tension and anger and energy and frustration, and at the same time the willingness to want to participate at a human level. Yeah. I think we tapped into something really excellent there that night.
We did. Well, let's get on to talking about the album, if that's all right with you. Is it a conceptual piece, or is it a set of individual songs?
As long as I'm alive, the concept of being alive will be contained in the songs. If that be a concept, I'm not being pretentious about this. It's like, that's the way it is. You use all of life's experiences, all the situations that go on around you, and you transform them into songs. Let's refer to the book tour, the way we did it. Everything there painted these beautiful tapestries and colour schemes in my mind. No 2 days were the same. No morning and afternoon seemed to relate to each other. And there was all this intermittent chaos and fiasco, and at the same time, organisational qualities going on. Quite bizarre, and a real, I thought, excellent way of doing a book. And, if you're going to go to the effort of telling your life story and you want to be as accurate as possible, that's what you have to do. You have to meet your audience. You have to answer the questions. And you have to be able to enjoy that. And I did. And I found out I wasn't forcing myself at all. I was a willing participant.
You genuinely enjoyed it.
Yeah. I mean, you know this because you were working with us. I'm a shy bunny. You know, I'm Mr. Loudmouth, bloody hell, will he ever shut up rotten? But at the same time, there's that quiet side to me when I'm quite thoughtful and considerate about what it is I'm doing. And for me, I can't let people down that have turned up and want things signed or to say hello to me. I loved it. It was really, it's shameful that I'm paid to do this.
Well, that they loved you as well. I mean, one thing when
to be paid to do for what you love.
Yes, there's no finer state of grace, really. But one of the things on the tour was you got drawn into current politics a little bit with people like John Humphreys, who you called the silly sausage and stuff. And now, hello, let's go back to him. That was the first day, right? I practically just got off the plane. It was a crack of bloody dawn, right? I wasn't expecting him to be, so purposely full of animosity. Huh. I expected better from him because I have enjoyed his work in the past. I understand his right-wing views. That's fine by me. No problem. But he deserved to be called a silly sausage because he really wasn't saying much that was accurate. No. And he hadn't read the book, so what the hell was I doing here? He's an old-school journalist, apparently, but what he proved to me to be was he was an old-school lazy, and that he didn't do the research. And you're going to get a chap like me sitting in front of you, and you don't know what you're talking about. Well, I'm going to give it to you, you know, and in the nicest possible way, because I left the mustard out. Well, a lot of people are talking about politics at the moment. You got in there right on the back of Russell Brand saying don't vote. Telling people to go and vote and get down their town halls.
Yeah. And there's some confusion over the Russell Brand issue because it was thrown at me from a member of the audience and I responded to their interpretation therein. I mean, I'm trying to let the poor fella off the hook. He's not very funny as a comedian.
He's turned to politics now.
Yeah.
Or anti-politics.
Well, whatever he wants to call it, that's all well and fine. But there are certain things in life that go beyond humour. And if you want to have a future and a say-so in the world, don't let a comedian mislead you. Pay attention. Right? There's some serious dragon fellas out there.
There really are. And you were advising people to get involved in their local communities and get down their town halls and get voting. Yeah. I mean, what do you think?
Well, oddly enough, here we are in the Cotswolds now, right, recording and all of this, and the village is just down the road there, you know, an hour walk. But already I'm being involved in, and not deliberately so, but by the local community. They all want to know my opinion on things, and I'm starting to want to go to the town hall meetings while I'm here. And they're a really interesting bunch of odds and sods, just like everywhere else in the world. So I'm automatically drawn into those situations, whether I like it or not. But you know what? Because it's people, I like it.
Yeah.
You know, I do.
But it's because, you've also got a very strong voice and people want leadership.
Yeah.
Do you think...
Look, if I don't know what I'm talking about, I won't talk about it.
Right.
And that's what I do. And everything about my life is to find out as much information as I deem necessary and then come to the correct conclusion.
Do you think that the British people right now are ill-served by those...
They're ill-served by themselves. They are ill-served by themselves. And quite frankly, you get what you deserve, because when you sit in your rear end and just complain and moan and do nothing actually, well, that's what you get. Nothing in return. Nothing. Nothing comes from nothing.
Well, that's a very important point. And, it sometimes needs people our age or someone who's got their eyes open.
To pass the advice on.
To pass the advice.
In America, I'm seeing this even more clearer than here. And, you've got Republican way of thinking, and they're implying now that corporations are people too, in that the corporation you work for has the better right to vote than all of the people that work for that corporation. That's like the angle it's heading to. What this is ultimately all about is to take away the vote from all of us. The corporations or unions, for instance, as it was the accusation about the Labour Party years ago, were block booking votes. This is a very, very ugly future ahead unless we start realising that each and every single one of us count as an individual and not in a group. It's us as individuals, which is the bigger group, that will create the most change. Thank you.
Thank you, John. So back to the album. I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but I just heard a little snippet there.
Yeah, which is not indicative of the whole. Believe me, I mean, we're running in endless directions. But for me, where I make music is to continually put together all these little pieces of my personality that finally make the jigsaw puzzle complete. It takes time. There's a point and a purpose and a direction to me.
Well,
I don't do things to hurt people.
No, I know.
Never have.
No.
Never will.
And, absolutely.
And I come from the slums, and you know, quite frankly, none of us knew any better.
Well, you've come a long way.
Yeah. But
is there a musical
But the judgment is still there.
Yeah,
the judgment,
of course.
you're still tamed with that same tarry old brush, and that I'd like to see an end to. I mean, I've watched the Labour Party here try to introduce the concept of breaking down the class system. No, that's not what they've done. No. They just, meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Well, you've got Tony Blair to thank for that.
Yes, Mr. Soup Tureen. Go for it, baby.
Can I just take a shot of you doing Tony Blair there?
I've always seen him as a corrupt lawyer. This is my vision of him above a bookie's shop on the high street in a very small town. Just on the burbs of London. They never let him in the White House properly. They've always assumed he's sort of some kind of pet. But the American way of viewing British politics has always been that way. They mollycoddled Thatcher, through Reagan, and enough of it is enough of all of it. And I mean, I now live in America and I carry an American passport, but that don't mean I've given up common sense, but it also doesn't mean I'm going to go along with the nonsense that has ridiculed and rubbished this country for so long. So I'm opinionated both sides of the pond.
I want to come back to your creativity again, and I've made this observation about you that your humour seems to me to be informed by an awareness of how absurd the human being is.
It goes back to, and it's in the book, childhood illness. When you've had your memory taken away from you, and it took so long to find yourself back in your proper place, you realise that your proper place wasn't really proper at all. And you were a bit of an unthinking monkey, and then you look around and think, well, nobody's really thinking around here. Why is that? It's an odd thing to be able to be yourself, but look inside yourself and find all those faults about yourself, and at the same time appreciate those faults and carry that forth, and hopefully, by example of the way you live and the way you do things and what you have to say about situations, that can be a positive influence rather than a sneery, snidey negative. Now, that's the biggest, I think, worst concept of Johnny Rottenisms, is that I was presumed to be a nihilist and just into, death and destruction. I'm afraid that's not the case. What I was doing was dealing with problems head on and looking for solutions and answers. And I think I've had a very, very positive influence on the culture because of that.
I mean, life-changing to
this all sounds very self-aggrandising, but it isn't really.
You're just talking honestly about your
But these are problems that we all have. And I'm just in a lucky position that I'm judging myself first and foremost. I am my own worst enemy. That's one of the blessings and also one of the curses of having you know, that childhood creativity, should we call it, really, because a lot of good things came from being so seriously ill.
Do you know
so
what they
seriously
say?
Near dying.
A lot of tribal cultures in the world that have shamans say
Yep.
that you can't be a shaman, you can't reach wisdom until you've known near death, until you've been really seriously ill and come back from the brink. You appreciate life more if you've almost had it taken away from you.
Well, experience always will help. But if you're just going to sit back and expect everything to be done and handed to you, and then rather selfishly be opinionated and not thankful about that, well, you get what you deserve. That's it. You know, I'm grateful for everything I've got, including my illnesses, because I found a positive in every single step along the way. And I've got to say thank you, Mum and Dad, because they've been the hardest on me at a time in my life when I really needed hard lines, you know. They taught me how to never, ever, ever wallow in self-pity. It does not achieve. And it appears now we have a very young, modern British society, very super trendy, very, very tight jeans, etc. And they are all wallowing in self-pity. And they're aimless. And I see that the magazine culture has completely, ultimately corrupted the youth of this country to the point where now, when I hear like young kids saying, what's the point in doing anything? It's all been done before. What, are you ludicrous? You know, it hasn't been done by you, and your own personality touch on anything is immediately, instinctively, and ultimately, because of what we are as a species, different from any other individuals ever.
It's like
DNA, you know?
A lot of
Do you
people
know
don't
anything?
know they're alive. Yeah. A lot of people carry on like they don't know they're alive. And it's ironic that you would be called nihilistic, because that is a completely anti-nihilistic perspective of life. But it's really lovely to hear you speak about that kind of gratitude.
Good though, isn't it? Equals and opposites.
Yeah.
You know, which
Yeah.
is it? I mean, I've never thrown out red herrings there.
No, not at all.
I ain't one to hand you a brace of kippers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, here's some old vagina talk. Yeah, that'll make me famous.
Well, now, you know, you mentioned the word vagina. I was just listening to you exclaiming how sex was bollocks, and
Shh, we can't talk
we
about
can't talk about that.
What I do in all songs is I raise questions, right?
Yeah.
And I want you to like be like, oh, what's he mean by that? I want that intrigue in your head. Find the resolve yourself. I'm not one to like plonk the answer in front of you, because I don't know. Is there an answer? What suits me in my life is not what will suit you or anybody else, ultimately. Hence the school of thought of individuals. That we're not selfish in our attitudes, and we don't insist that everybody else adhere to our specific beliefs. Share. Learn to give people their space. But when they move into your space, get ferocious cheese on it.
Absolutely. I think what you're saying is everyone to thine own self be true, in a way. It's like live your own truth.
If we're going to go biblical, I mean, there is some rather like tasty lines in the Bible.
But you've always lived your own truth.
So the more you read, the more you learn. Right? This is libraries to me, for instance, centres of the universe in towns.
But if you talk about reading, I mean, when you were young, after recovering from your illness, you...
Well, let's go back even further. At 4, I could read and write. But I was left-handed and then sent to a Catholic school run by nuns and priests. Well, left-handed, sign of the devil. And so what I'd have to do was just sit back and be quiet. So I was a very quiet lad, very shy anyway, and retiring, but I didn't want to be consistently, like, whacked with a ruler.
No.
For being left-handed. So I just acted stupid like you know, a lot of the kids unfortunately were. And, you know, and then at 7 I got meningitis, and then it took a year, but they sent me straight back to school, and I knew nothing. Dummy Dum Dum was the name. And that was given me by not the kids alone, but by the nuns themselves.
Nuns can be some of the most vicious creatures on earth. I know
Yep,
from
you
that, my own
dirty
personal-
little
yeah.
boy. I remember that. That was their favourite expression. You dirty little boy. And you know what this refers to directly? This is where this is even before meningitis. This is we had to in them days we had to wear shorts even in winter, and sandals and little grey socks, little ankle socks, and you weren't allowed long trousers, right? Until you were 11 and you moved on to your secondary school. That was the uniform, and the girls' dresses. So it must have been even harder on them, you know, in the below parts. Freezing. And of course I got diarrhea, and ultimately completely ashamed. I leaned against the wall. It poured down my pants, into my ankle sock and into my sandal, and I would not move. I would not move. I was, you know, almost like poo frozen to a brick wall. It's laughable, I know, but how shy I was about it and how I couldn't cope with it.
When you were a kid, that sort of stuff is
you can't, and you can't
painful.
ask nuns and priests for help. So that was it. You dirty boy, you dirty little boy, and that sticks with you.
It does.
But I've learnt not to be resentful about that. That's like I've got to be like a smarter person and think those poor adults. They actually needed a child's help to work out their own agendas. And so there you go. Here I am at God knows what age, you know. I'd like to think I'm a 21-inch neck.
Well, I'm glad that you're still sticking it out. So, who are your heroes throughout history, musically or artistically? Because you're quite fond of art as well, and I'd love to get a sense of whose pictures do you put on the wall?
I don't follow a particular line of art or architecture or anything. It's what strikes my eye as being immediately pleasing in its concept. I can like a painting just because the colours are right, and that's great and good enough for me. I don't like the intellectualism of art, and I particularly loathe the presumption that modern art is somehow related or comes from Saatchi. I find problems with this.
That he puts a value on it in terms of how much...
And claims some credit for inventing the process of modern art. And I suppose this is like, the same way that, on a more personal basis, the way Vivienne Westwood, who owned a sex shop when we first started out in the Sex Pistols, and I wrote all the words. That's just a fact. But it's a bit audacious of her in her book to claim that she came up with the concept of anarchy in the UK. Well, why didn't you finish the job and write the words and sing the song then? Eh? Really? You know, this clinging on the back of our efforts and trying to take credit for that, when really all those people are doing is slowing down the creativity process.
Well,
and they're eliminating the fun in it and the sharing and the caring, and they make it a personal greed campaign.
That's been going on, I think, for centuries. You always get the people who aren't that creative holding on to the
yes, absolutely, but I can only deal with the current for the mo.
Of course.
My next book.
For my next great work. What do you hope to achieve with the new album? Is there a musical direction that you're going in? Are you going for this more
spontaneity, fun, enjoyment, open-mindedness, a love of good music, a love of good integrity, a love of effort, and an appreciation that we are just human beings after all, and we strive as hard as we can to do what we can in the best way we can, Yes, and smile in the face of adversity. I mean, it's a difficult thing that I have going, trying to keep public image the way it is and keep its integrity safe and secure. I mean, I've got a lot of enemies from the Pistols to fight off, and a lot of resentment inside the recording industry about that. So we're independent, and we raise our money as good as we can outside of a recording industry. So we do this for love. And make no two mistakes about it. This isn't because we want to be pop stars. Johnny Rotten knows how to be a pop star. Johnny Rotten has decided to be a human being. All right? I don't want mass adulation. But I want somehow, somewhere, a notice of respect, as much as I respect each and every other human being out there. For instance, my record collection is enormous, consistently expanding, and always will. I have a complete open mind. I know how much agony a human being has to go through to make a record. Mm-hmm. Right? And this is the only thing I've ever found in my whole life that I'm actually any good at. Right? So,
well, you've got that amazing voice.
I've now found what I was born to do. All of us are born for something. Some of us are good at plumbing.
Good thing too. Very
good thing. I know I learnt to install a toilet once, so I'm quite good at that.
Just as well with your bottom problems, John.
I need a supersized bowl. A super bowl. It's probably why I moved to America.
But, I mean, that voice of yours is untouchable. It's just so unique, instantly recognisable. In less than a second, you know who's singing. I mean, when I came to see you last year with Public Image in Shepherd's Bush, your voice is you've really looked after it. It sounds in great condition, and
yet I smoke like a trooper.
Well, this is it, isn't it?
You know.
But when you're up there and you're giving it some.
Oh, that's different. That's like,
it comes from somewhere else.
It comes from in here, in the heart.
Yeah.
I mean what I do. And so every word is like, I don't care how much I have to wreck my entire internal system to project that accurately. That is the full point and purpose to this. I'm not ever going to mug off that one.
No.
I'm a lucky, lucky fella to be in this position.
It's the opposite, isn't it, of all that X Factor karaoke and the Simon Cowells of the world.
What they're projecting is greed and ambition over anything else. And it is karaoke by nature. They're singing other people's songs, being judged by people that really don't have the right to judge at all. And in fact, if there was a proper kind of X Factor or American Idol out there, we'd be judging the judges.
Well, I think we are, aren't we? Will you you'll carry on recording for the rest of your life?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Unstoppable. Love it. Drawn to it.
And in taking in...
Negative and positive. Bang. It's a magnet.
And taking in lots of different musical styles. You have...
And taking in... Well, I'm always absorbing what's going on and what human beings do around me. But the one thing I insist on never doing is outwardly duplicating anything. Mm-hmm. I resent that bitterly. And so it really is a constant search and strive for originality. And I've got to tell you that the boys in Public Image, they're the same as me in this respect. We won't settle for cod.
No. And your guitarist Lou, he quite likes playing lots of strange instruments, doesn't he? You're going to get any of that sort of...
Lou got bored with the guitar years ago.
Okay.
When he was in the Damned, and so he went off on his world tours of imagination and came back a much better person because of it. And that's what we all do, really.
And
we travel, both mentally and physically.
Yeah.
But internally search and research and absorb and see what is good or what is bad. That shifting of information to be able to throw out the rubbish, but to be able to know what the rubbish is. Mm-hmm. And that only comes from, filling your head with everything, all the time. Reading is the greatest source of that. It really is. You can't learn too much off movies because they're just bad versions of books.
Are you reading anything at the moment? Are you reading novels or...
I can't do anything like what I call my fun time. when I'm working.
Right.
I cannot allow that to creep in and influence and indirectly shape-shift whatever my current directions may be. I give myself those times, large amounts of what's perceived as laziness by me. I've got to say, it's honest that I'll sit and watch TV for 3 months without even thinking of going to the toilet. But I'm reading. I'm absorbing, I'm listening, it's a studious thing that goes on in there. I cannot stop my brain turning over. But there are times when I've got to try my utmost, and dirgy TV is an absolute zen poetry for me.
Which is the opposite.
It cleanses the soul. It does.
What, you mean like trash TV?
Come dine with me. Coach trip. These are wonderful. You can stop thinking and enjoy these poor people in these ridiculous situations, and get a sense of empathy from mediocrity, which is really important, actually.
I think I know what you're saying. It's why these reality
you learn not to judge.
Popular.
You're not judging them. You're not sneering at them. You're participating with them in a really empathetic and sympathetic way.
You were seeing all the human frailties, aren't you? When someone's worried if their
souffle's but for the grace of God. But for the grace of God goes our plum pudding.
Yeah. So I mentioned, if they did a celebrity come dine with me, would you think you'd try and rustle something up?
No. It's not like that. I'm not viewing it as I want to be a contributor or find a role in that. It's that's what people presumed when I did I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. That took 2 years of them bartering and then some very nice advice from my manager, Mr. Rambo. And me missus and all of this and I did it, and what we did it for ultimately, completely, totally, was to raise money for charity. Now I could have done with the money myself at the time, but no, I wanted to take that on finally, and I did. I think I took it on honestly, completely, and I'm secure that I did no wrong there, because as you see me there, that's as I am in real life.
Yeah.
All right, the fire's going out, stoke it. Yeah. There's mosquitoes in the water, boil it. It's just common sense. It's called survival.
Well, I like the bit in the book where you talk about where you go and wander off in the woods and
I met some wonderful animals. Yes.
Yes. Looking at the face of a lizard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a huge iguana. It's the most brilliant time, and I sat there on the edge of a precipice in that jungle. It was there was a hole in the canopy. This is what the lizard was doing. It was enjoying the morning sun. Light up his ever-readies. And I was doing the same. And that was wonderful until that ridiculous lord came stumbling down the hill and went, "Oh, look, it's a lizard." You clumsy fool, aren't you grasping it? That if you just remain silent and listen to what's going on around you, you become a part of it, and that wildlife then accepts you in a much, much more positive way. And that's what I did. That's what I took out of I'm a Celebrity, that I realised that wildlife actually liked me because I wasn't making no fuss about it. The ants stopped biting, the snakes, would slither on by, and almost, in my mind, became, "Oh, hello, John." But what it is it's a capability that we all have, but shun. That's all.
Yeah.
My name is John. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is the art of the victim. Live, learn. Share or burn. Thank you. Good night. This has been Poets Corner.